The NBA Eastern Finals on TNT is presented by Google Pixel. It's game one of the best of 7. The Toronto Raptors facing the Milwaukee Bucks, the winner heading to the NBA Finals.
See if he can get a high screen. He got the switch that he wanted.
Lowry underneath. The jam.
Tell you what, Bledsoe's showing why he was first team all defense.
Lee with the rainbow three. Fred VanVleet. Lowry played by Hill. Gets the pick from Ibaka. Ibaka. Little mix-up on the exchange defensively. Back comes Middleton. Goes behind the back and lost it. Lowry with the steal. He has Giannis behind him. Gets to Leonard. He stuffed a facial.
We are ready for game one. Golden State Warriors, Toronto Raptors. As we welcome you to the NBA Finals presented by YouTube TV. What an atmosphere outside the arena, inside Scotiabank Arena. As tip-off just moments away, and let's hear it from the coaches on their last minutes.
Sportsfeld!
It is Sportsfeld Storytime. We're looking back to 2019. When we last left off, Kawhi Leonard had just made history with the greatest moment, the greatest single moment in Toronto Raptors history, hitting the shot against the Philadelphia 76ers. We were feeling the buzz on that for a long-ass time, and around the corner was the Milwaukee Bucks. It was Giannis, who at this point I think we still thought was coming to the Raptors in the not-too-distant future, but Giannis and Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks, they were very good. 60 and 22 coming into the series through the regular season. How did you feel going into the series against the Bucks?
I felt amazing.
Yeah.
I thought it felt kind of like we got past the Sixers and then the Bucks were kind of let Giannis get his. And then other than that, they'd be fine. And I was also pretty confident in Marc Gasol and Kawhi being able to shut Giannis down, which yes and no, I guess. But I felt great about the series until about 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter of game one.
Yeah. Raptors would lose game one of this series 108-100. Giannis, it was pretty darn good. He was really, really good this year in total, but he had 24 and 14, 3 blocks, 2 steals, 6 assists. Brook Lopez had 29 points.
We were smoking them in that game too, and then it was very Raptors in a game one again, which after the Kawhi shot kind of felt like a letdown.
Yes, a 32-17 fourth quarter for Milwaukee, cracked away the win. And I remember at the time it sort of felt like it's going to be really tough to get wins against the Bucks. So blowing a big lead in the fourth quarter, it's like you have to win 5 games. I think it was sort of the way that it felt.
Yeah, it felt like a real missed opportunity to steal home court because, the Raptors are going to be good in Toronto. They just are with that crowd, but not being able to steal home court as the underdog sort of already felt like a real, oh boy.
Yeah.
And then game 2 happened. And
game 2, they get smoked.
Oh boy.
125-103. Other than Kawhi, who will always get 30 points no matter what's going on. Really nothing going on anywhere. A total domination. The worst nightmare. 30 and 17 from Giannis. Just complete and utter wall-to-wall domination. This was probably the nadir of the rest of this Raptors run.
Yeah, I feel like I felt lower about it after the game 3 in Philly. I think that was even down. I definitely thought they were going to lose the series at that point, but it did. I don't know. I wasn't being as we said, the Raptors are a very good home team in general, and generally a good home team in the playoffs with that Raptors crowd. And so being down 0-2, but having the next in Toronto didn't like being down 2-1 to Philly with game 4 in Philly felt more worrisome to me than being down 0-2 to the Bucks with the next 2 in Toronto.
Series doesn't start until the home team loses, Jake.
Exactly. And I remember I watched that game in a bar and like the mood was pretty low because of it, but it wasn't what you would have thought with the Raptors getting smoked in a game 2.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I think I was pretty convinced that they sort of were out of options. But oh boy, game 3, Giannis only scores 12 points, 12 and 23, but only 12 points.
A legendary game.
Kawhi Leonard, I mean, on their absolute backs, 36 points. It goes to double overtime. You were absolutely right. Legendary games. Kawhi, 36. Pascal, 25. Kyle Lowry fouls out of this game. Norm Powell with 19 fouls out of this game. Obvious to look back on now, but it really did. At the time, it felt like if they lost this, that was it. And oh man, double OT.
Just under a minute left in the second OT. Lopez to the ball. Oh, it's rejected by Siakam. Leonard with a beautiful move and scoring. Kawhi Leonard has given Toronto a 4-point lead.
Double OT. Kawhi, I feel like this is the game where he kind of tweaked his leg.
Yeah.
And he was kind of on one leg, but was still battling through. And then it went to double OT. And Pascal had a big game, and this has been, I think, forgotten because Game 6 against the Bucks was so great, and obviously the shot, which we talked about last week, and then everything with the Warriors and winning the title. But like, this is one of the greatest games in Raptors history.
We could do a full episode on this game as sort of as the turning point of when they were able to turn it around and really become the team that became undeniable. And then this sort of turns around to, I mean, Game 4, Fred VanVleet goes 5 for 6. All of a sudden, Fred VanVleet's a plus 25 from the field, Norm Powell a plus 29. And this is where it became the Raptors' depth actually starting to matter a little bit because, as we had spoken about in previous episodes, they sort of couldn't play anybody that wasn't in the starting lineup. Serge wasn't very good. And Fred wasn't very good. Then against the Bucks, Serge wakes up. Fred finds some matchups. Norm is always a Bucks killer. This is sort of where that tide started to turn because Kawhi only has 19, which after the leg tweak, a little concerning. But Kyle has 25, and the bench really shows up. 120, 102 for the Raptors.
Was between Game 3 and 4 I believe that's when Fred Jr. was born.
I believe so, yes.
And I believe this was the beginning of the legend of Fred Jr. and dad strength Fred VanVleet.
Incredible. Just like crazy. May 20th is the birth of the child. So pardon me, the kid was born before Game 3. Or pardon me, before Game 4. You're right, between Game 3 and 4.
This is the beginning of the run that made Fred VanVleet $80 million. Is basically what happened here.
Absolutely right. We go forward 105-99 in Game 5. Oh boy, 35 from Kawhi. Just like you almost run out of things to say. But this is like, you talk about momentum. Now that's like the previous game they had been complaining about Drake's antic courtside.
That's right.
It was like anything but talking about how the Bucks were about to choke away this series became like the top thing in the world. And this was maybe Coach Budenholzer sucks. This is all the little things that are continuing to eat away at the Bucks.
Right, because wasn't he just playing? He was playing Giannis like 34 minutes a game or something.
Yeah, he plays 39 in this one, but also like Middleton really bad in this game. The bench, they couldn't get anything from the bench. Hill, Connaughton, Ilyasova, Mirotic, all major negatives. Raptors all the momentum with a big fourth quarter to pull away and take the win. And then Game 6. I mean, you talk about great moments.
I will go on record and say that this is the most fun game in Raptors history.
Wow.
The sheer joy on the Kawhi dunk, you know the one I'm talking about.
Yes, of course.
Like, nothing had... No, like, the shot is one thing. Because that's, like, to win the series. And so I wouldn't necessarily call that fun. That was just, like, incredible. And, like, is 1A Raptors moment, single play moment. Mm-hmm. But the dunk to just sort of end the Bucks, Lowry's starting with a Kyle steal to begin with, because all things at this point we're starting with Kyle Lowry. Starting with a Kyle steal, the awareness of Lowry, and we talked about this on the show after this game, about the idea of 2 points not just being 2 points.
Right.
And the awareness that, like, Kawhi's behind... Lowry could have easily just laid that in. Or, like, gone for contact. But the awareness that Kawhi's behind him at full speed, ready to dunk on Giannis. At the end of this, like, whatever it was, like a 23-5 run or something like that. That is... Like, the bar I was in watching this game, that was a level of delirium for a mid-game play that it was like bat flip level. Mm-hmm. Like, that dunk just was like, I'm just smiling thinking about it.
Oh boy, it's hard to believe this is the world. This is the way it was, but
Truly.
The Raptors would win, and then awaiting them, the Golden State Warriors. Kevin Durant had not played since earlier in the playoffs, and I remember you talk about surreal. Watching with my wife at home, an NBA Finals intro, an NBA Finals pregame show, the NBA Finals being in Toronto. What a feeling, and like what an unbelievable thing to like have witnessed. It really was like super, super incredible in the moment.
It's funny how game one of the finals, how extremely quickly it went from basically every Raptors fan, at least everyone that I know, it went from, within the span of 2.5 hours, went from we're just happy to be here to we're going to win this fucking thing.
Yeah.
Because, like, yes, they didn't have Kevin Durant, but it was still the Warriors. It's still Steph and Clay and Draymond and all that. And I remember thinking, like, I can't wait for us to... It'll be so fun to lose to the Warriors, was kind of my attitude.
Right, I remember that.
And then they win game one.
Yeah.
And, like, handily. And it was like, oh, maybe we're gonna do this thing. Like, I remember watching that game, and I think Fred hits some, like, 4-bounce three-pointer to go up 10 with, like, 3 minutes left or something. And it was like, oh, we're going to win. It was like, oh, we're going to be 3 games away. And it went very quickly from like, no, let's do this thing.
5 to shoot. Leonard sees the double team. Van Fleet going to have to hoist it up. That's a 2-pointer. Oh, he banks it in! Curry gets to the rim, left-handed, banks it home with the foul as Curry goes crashing to the floor. Good ball denial from Klay Thompson. Siakam makes his move, drives, off balance, shot missed, rebound, tipped up and in! Lowry for 3. Bang! The Raptors, in the franchise's first appearance in the NBA Finals, get the victory here in Game 1.
Crazy. The Warriors get one back in Game 2. It's a split going to Oracle. The Raptors win Game 3 behind 30 from Kawhi. Everybody in the starting lineup with huge double-digit games. And the question starting to be is Kevin Durant going to come back into this series? That was such... it's hard to even overstate how much that storyline was like a part of every single day of this series. It was like that was the only thing anybody talked about. It was almost secondary to what was happening. Steph, by the way, 47 points. in Game 3. Steph really, maybe when he retires, we'll get like the full appreciation of how like unbelievable Steph Curry is. Like really, truly.
Yeah, and like to that point, like Steph is
basically alone because Klay doesn't play in this game either.
He's terrifying at all times. Just like actively, even without Klay, without Durant, you're still like, well, Steph could go for 60 tonight.
Yeah.
I was saying how to that point in Game 3 he has 47, even though they lose by 14. Saying how Game 6 against the Bucks was like the most fun Raptors game. This Game 4 against the Warriors also way up there. A Friday night to go up 3-1 in the NBA Finals. That was like that again. Like crazy, the world was this way, but the bar we were at that night just turned into a party. Everyone was. It was summer. It was warm. It was Friday. Everyone was in such a good mood. Oh, what a good time! What a good fucking time this was.
36 and 12 from Kawhi, 20 from Serge. Serge really huge in this series. We almost haven't touched on it, but he made some big plays against the Bucks and made some huge. He was huge in this series against the Warriors because the Warriors could not play any big man. They couldn't play Cousins. They couldn't play Looney. They couldn't play Bogut. It didn't matter. The Raptors had. And it's so funny now with how difficult the Raptors have had a time with their centers in 2021 is like they had an answer for every big man in every series all the way through this playoff run. It's such a cool thing. It's like that was such a like obviously Kawhi is a difference for a lot of this, but like they also had an answer for every big man that could have posed a problem. It's such a
and the box and one and all that.
Such a well built team. Yeah, like this game, Steph and Klay 27 and 28, and it's just not enough because the Raptors are too deep. 36 from Kawhi. And then, I mean, Kevin Durant comes back in Game 5. Crazy moment.
Yeah.
A crazy moment.
And then, the controversy, let's call it.
Sure.
Of the fans. I feel like that, I think that got blown up proportion in every sense of it, from all sides. With the people, the cheering when Kevin Durant went down.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there were some people cheering that he got hurt, but it wasn't that. And like, don't do that. But also, I'm sure it wasn't, yay, this man is injured. It was, yay, their best player isn't playing.
Yeah.
And also in the moment, it was like a steal also in the moment. So like, you're not thinking like, oh, he's hurt. And then also the sort of reaction from the other way of like Raptors fans afterwards being like, we've got to raise money to apologize. It's like, fucking like, come on.
Yeah. Listen, I know for me, at least personally, the immediate thought was, oh my God, we're going to win the NBA Finals.
Right. Of course.
Like that was,
of course it was.
I'm not afraid to admit it. I was immediately like, oh my God, that's the thing. That the one thing holding them back was like Durant came out on fire, 3 of 3 for 3. 3 of 5 in the game, looked like he couldn't miss, looked incredible, and then he was going to be the difference one way or the other, and then he went down. It was like, oh my God. And also, to your point, like we didn't know it was going to be a fucking Achilles tear, right? Like
right.
There's a difference between he turns his ankle or like he loses a full year and a half of his career.
Because it also kind of, like in the moment, because it was mid play, it did kind of look like he just slipped.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, okay, this is serious. But I felt that whole thing was a little crazy.
Anyway, Kyle Lowry gets a chance to win the NBA Finals at the buzzer in this game.
The one regret of this, well, I don't know. I have two minds of it. One, I do wish the Raptors had won at home. Mm-hmm. I also obviously wish that Kyle Lowry hitting a buzzer beater to win the NBA Finals. Like, you cannot script it better than that. But because of the whole Durant thing, I think it's good they didn't win that night.
Yeah. Well, they do win later on. Game 6, 114-110. I'll tell you this. I don't remember anything from this game. I really don't. I had to rewatch it. I was like, I don't remember. I basically like blacked out this entire. The only thing I remember is yelling that Iguodala didn't want to shoot. And I look back at it and he had 15 shots and 22 points somehow.
I remember,
man, oh man.
I remember we stood in our little corner of that bar. Mm-hmm. I remember we lived and died with every shot. I remember Kyle coming out on fire and us going crazy at that. And then, yeah, a lot of it's a blur to me as well.
Kyle Lowry, did he ever? Oh my goodness. 15 first quarter points from Kyle Lowry. 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 4 makes in the game go to Kyle. 3 of them 3-pointers. Layup 3, 3, 3. Kyle with 11 points on his own in the first 2 minutes. I just sort of remember. I remember that. I remember shit talking Iguodala, and then I remember the free throws at the end of the game. Everything else is just sort of a blur until I watched it back. You mentioned a couple times in this, like, just felt like a dream. Like it's unbelievable that this even happened. Just crazy.
I sort of remember Fred's step back 3. But yeah, I remember drinking champagne in the alley.
Yeah, I remember the after more than I remember the game itself.
Same with me.
Hugging strangers, high-fiving strangers, drinking in the alley, walking home with Steve afterwards. Just like a great time. Just an unbelievable. Raptors win the goddamn NBA Finals. Boy, oh boy. And then the parade. I mean, holy cow. Just like an unbelievable parade. Kawhi bookends it with the great laugh. Storybook stuff. Like, truly, if you're going to have 1 year supernova out of nowhere, there are so many pieces of this season and this run that are going to live forever for Raptors fans.
Yeah, it's like, it's unbelievable that it happened at all. Especially looking at like how, and like this has been talked about a million times, but how the world is now, how so much of that run from a fan perspective was massive amounts of people watching basketball together, and how cool that was, and how it cannot happen anymore.
Yeah, man, oh man. And never forget, when they needed a bucket to win this game, they went to Pascal Siakam.
That's true. Winning shot of the NBA Finals.
They went to Pascal, ISO'd against Draymond Green, and they said, this is the matchup we want. That was what they did. A 2-footer against Draymond is how it goes down. And then I think there was a timeout. I can't remember how that ended, but the Raptors take a bunch of free throws with the game already over because Steph misses a 3-pointer. Right, Steph misses a 3, Draymond gets the rebound and tries to call timeout.
0.7 seconds.
They didn't have a timeout left, and that was the end of the game.
I remember a man in front of me at the bar picking up a stool and people having to be like, it's not over yet. And he was like, oh, okay, fair enough. Very weird ending. A very weird ending.
Yeah, but awesome. And that moment of Kyle lifting the trophy, so good. And we would be remiss if we didn't point out that what a fucking shame it is that this moment was robbed from Masai Ujiri.
Of course, by a racist, shitty cop who I can't really say much about him other than fuck him forever.
And took a year and a half to admit that nothing happened that caused him to do that, other than that he was a piece of shit.
Don't worry, he still made $200,000 a year on administrative leave because of it. So
anyway, not to end on the sad note. We end on the note that the Raptors made a bunch of fans for life with this, and there are kids that are going to grow up as massive Raptors fans. And in the way that we talk about this, the way that we talk about the 93 Jays, they're going to be kids years from now who talk about this team that way. And they talk about Marc Gasol, and they talk about Kawhi and Danny Green and Pascal and Kyle and Fred. There's going to be those kids, and that's, to me, what is the coolest part of all of this. And we saw a fucking championship in Toronto. Like, oh my God. Oh my God. It'll never not be crazy that I lived in Toronto for a team winning a world championship in a major sport. It's just, wow. Crazy. Okay. Well, folks, that is it for another month. That is Sportsfeld Storytime. What a great time going back and looking at just one of the best teams we'll ever see. The real takeaway was what a perfectly built team. Like, they had everything. Defense, everybody on the floor could score, incredible passing, big men, wings, a superstar, a top-level point guard. Just one of the most well-built teams I've ever seen in any version of this city anywhere. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I feel like there's a bit of a narrative out there of like, oh, they only won because Durant and Clay got hurt. But like that Raptors team was so fucking good.
Incredibly well built, just perfectly well built, and as we've said before on this show, a testament to like when you're right there, you should go for it, because a lot of teams didn't push in against these Warrior teams, and we're like, well, no one's ever going to beat the Durant Warriors. It's like, well, you never know what's going to happen. You never know. When you get a chance to have that door open, you have to take it, and the Raptors did, and they won the title, and that's what it's all about. So that is it. If you have an idea for the next version of Sportsfeld Storytime, let us know. We will get to just about anything, because we are open to ideas. We have so much that we've talked about and so much more to talk about. Just put it in the Discord. We'll check it out. So we will talk to you then on an all-new episode of Sportsfeld.